Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I'm Azira. So today my group members and I will share one of the language learning strategy models. Okay, in order to develop our learning to learn module, we have decided to choose language learning strategy model by Oxford 1990. As we all know, every learning process requires a manner or a strategy that needs to be adapted in order to achieve the main purpose of learning. One of the important things in the process of learning are what to use for learning and how to use it. Oxford 1990 divides language learning strategies into two main classes, which are direct strategies and indirect strategies. Direct strategies here referred then to those strategies through which we absorb, store, and retrieve information. Those strategies are also applied to learn the second language, whereas indirect strategies, it serves as support for learners to be able to manage and practice the knowledge that they have acquired through direct strategies. As I mentioned just now, Oxford divides the language learning strategies into two main classes. So under direct strategies, there are three strategies, which are memory strategies, cognitive strategies, and compensation strategies. So I will explain this in short. Okay, memory strategies are used for storage of information, while cognitive strategies are the mental strategies that the learner use to make sense of their learning, and compensation strategies help learners to overcome knowledge gaps to continue the communication. So as you can see in this slide, there are activities that the learners or the student can use. Okay, next one, direct strategies also can be divided into three, which are metacognitive strategies, affective strategies, and social strategies. Metacognitive strategies help learners to regulate their learning, while affective strategies are concerned with the learner's emotional requirements, such as confidence. And lastly, social strategies, which leads to increased interaction with the target language. Okay, for example, the learners or the students can cooperate with others or empathizing with others. Why do we choose this model? Okay. The LLSI by Oxford has been chosen because the strategies in the model are very useful in language learning. The strategies can contribute to the main goal of communicative competence, and the strategies are also adapted and play important roles as tools for the active self-directed involvement, which is essential for communicative competence. By the way, in order to develop communicative competence, the students must engage in realistic interaction using meaningful and contextualized language. So here also the teacher becomes facilitator, and at the same time it allows the learner to become more self-directed. So these reasons are also very important, very useful, especially in this 21st century's classroom. Okay. Besides that, language learning strategies by Oxford also involve with many aspects of the learner, not just the cognitive. Hismanoglu 2000 has stated that amount of information that has been processed by language learners is high in language classroom. Thus, learners use different language learning strategies in performing their task given and processing the new input they face. So this statement has been agreed by Federhold also, and he said using wide variety of language learning strategies appropriately can improve his language skills in better way. Okay, so for example, these strategies involve many aspects of the learner. We can see the example here, developing skills in 3 areas such as metacognitive, cognitive, and socio-affective can help the language learner build up learner independence and autonomy where he can take control of his own learning. And the third reason, in this model also, Oxford suggested a few procedures that can be carried out by the teacher. Okay, and we feel that this model is very flexible in terms of procedure. So the teacher can modify or rearrange the step, okay, in different orders for different needs and intention of the students.
Hello everyone, I'm Nurul and I will continue the presentation by introducing you to our first strategy that we have developed. This first strategy is called Speak-O-Naire, combining 3 strategies which are cognitive strategy, memory strategy, and social strategy. Speak-O-Naire aims to help learners to learn social expression, which is asking and answering questions. Through Speak-O-Naire, learners will practice the target language in a low anxiety environment because this strategy is actually a board game base. Other than that, they will also be encouraged to review well and relate the responses with similar situation. Lastly, as it is a game, they will learn to cooperate with others. They will work together with their friends in this strategy. Now let us look into the first steps. First and foremost, I would like you to know that this strategy should be carried out in group, not individually. Pairs, maybe they can, but not really effective, I think. And the player will be given different color of buttons of their choice. They can choose their color, and then they will also be given some money. You can use money from the Monopoly game, or you can print the money yourself. Next, they will take turn playing by rolling the dice. Using the money given, they can buy a property from the board after they answer the question from the cue cards or the question cards. This is the example of the board that we have designed for this strategy. If you look here, it has different buildings or property that you can buy. But the most important thing here is the cue cards. The learners will have to answer these questions with suitable responses before they can buy this property. This is the example of the questions. This is based on the UPSR questions. You can cut this and then turn it into a card. I think around 30 or 20 of these questions, you can put it here on this cue card section. Next step is each time other players land on their property, they need to pay fees to the owner. For example, if this cafe here is yours, they will need to pay 250 to you. At the end of the game, the player who has the most money and property will be the winner. The most important thing in this strategy is actually for the learners to have fun while learning. After playing, this is the last step, which is they need to answer the worksheet to test their understanding. You can have the set of questions from the cue cards or a new question with similar situation to see whether they can apply the responses that they have learned to this new situation. This other example. For the evaluation of the strategy, you can evaluate it with the score from the worksheet or a written questionnaire. Give this to the learners or the players to answer it. Here is the example of the questionnaire that we have prepared for this strategy. You can ask a few questions, around 5 is enough. As I am focusing on primary school students, the scale is divided into 2 only, which are agree and disagree. This will make it easier for them to answer. I think if you give them the 5 Likert scale, it will be quite difficult for them to decide. Last one is the variation for this strategy. This strategy is actually versatile, so these are only 2 suggestions from us. You can vary the cue cards based on the learner's need. Prepare the cue cards for the learner's need. You don't have to repeat the same cards over and over again. Keep it updated. Other than that, it can be used to teach grammar too, just like what I've said just now, as long as you are willing to prepare the new cards for the learners. This strategy will be so beneficial for your learner. That's all from me. I'll pass the baton to my friend now. Thank you.
Let's move to the next one, the second strategy. Hi everyone, I am Amalina. Okay, our second strategy is named as ADNO, ADNO. Okay, and then if we look here, this is the reason on how we develop this strategy. Number one is we use memory strategy, in which it allows the learners to review the lesson on their own. And the second one is cognitive strategy. We aim to help the learner, to assist them in practicing what they have learned independently. Okay, so the main idea in this second strategy is based on grammar item, in which we are trying to focus on the adjectives. Okay, there are 2 types of adjectives that we are going to highlight in this second strategy, which are comparatives and superlatives. Okay, so the next one, the learners are going to start using the strategy with recalling the song of comparatives and superlatives. In this strategy, we also provide them with the lyrics of this song, okay, followed by the next step, in which the learners have to share the examples of adjectives. They have to state them orally before they complete the first worksheet in the third step. Here is the example of the first worksheet. They have to complete the table with the comparative and superlative adjectives. By doing this, it allows the learner to review what they have learned in the previous lesson. Okay, next one, step 4. They have to play the ADNO game in pairs or groups of 4. And before doing that, they have to read the instructions. Here is the setup. ADNO requires 2 players, and then there are 30 cards and 1 player will receive 15 cards. 0 cards are also provided, and the time limit is 10 minutes. Don't worry, we're going to show you the example later. Okay, here is how they're going to play the game. Okay, I'm going to read it step by step. Okay, player A reads the adjective in the base form. For example, thin, fat, beautiful, ugly. Okay, so player B has to state orally the comparatives and superlatives form of the adjective asked by player A. Okay, let's say if player B can answer correctly, so player A loses his card and has to give his card to player B. Likewise, if player B cannot answer correctly, player A can keep his card, so they can take turn to play. The scoring, this is how it's going to be done. After 10 minutes end, a player with more cards is the winner, and if both are tied, draw cards can be used to decide the winner. On the draw cards, more difficult adjectives will be given. Okay, start the mission, and this is the layout of the game, in which it has a picture, the comparative, not comparative, the adjective in the base form, the comparative, and the superlative as well. Okay, this is the last step of this strategy. Once the winner is decided, they have to complete the next task sheet individually. This allows them to practice and to review the learning through this strategy. They have to complete the table with comparative and superlative adjectives, and the examples are provided, followed by the next one in the same worksheet, where they have to use the comparative given in the brackets to complete the sentences. Here is the sample. It is also provided in this strategy. Okay, this is how the learners are going to evaluate their own learning by using this strategy. Number one, a score sheet will be given, and they're going to calculate, they record the score of before and after worksheet. So it's easy for them to evaluate their own achievement or performance. Okay, the second one is a written questionnaire. Okay, this is the example of the score sheet and the questionnaire. Okay, let's move to the next one, variation. This is how this strategy can be varied. Number one is through grouping. More cards are provided if the learners intend to play in a large group. So more cards will be given for them so that they can play with more players. Okay. Second one is more sets of ADNO game will be provided if the learners are going to form many groups, different groups. Okay, with the same amount of players. Okay. Next one is the purpose. By using this strategy, they can also benefit it for the use of learning the writing skill. For example, on the ADNO card game, as you have seen it is in the example, there are adjectives stated on the card. So they can use the card to construct their own sentences. Okay. Let's move to the next one. The third strategy is named as chicken licken. Okay, this is how we develop this strategy. It is based on two strategies that we have selected. Number one is effective strategy, in which we are trying to focus on lowering the anxiety in learning. And second one is the social strategy. We would like to promote the cooperation in this strategy. And the main idea here is language art. Okay, the learners are going to start with reading a story entitled Chicken Licken, followed by the next one in which they have to observe the character and state the characteristics. Okay, we have provided them with the task sheet here in which they have to complete for example, the color, the size, and anything about the character in the story. Okay, next one. It will be continued with a sharing session where they can carry out the sharing session with a gallery walk. And then they will be provided with a dice and a dice drawing game. Here is the example. Okay. So one learner has to roll the dice for 4 times and then write the descriptions they get by rolling the dice. Take turn to throw the dice, and the last step is to produce a mask based on the descriptions they get from rolling the dice. Okay, so evaluation table is provided for the learners so that it's easier for them to evaluate the strategy used. They have to state the strengths, the weaknesses, and what are the things that they would like to improve in this strategy. It works more or less like a parking lot. Okay, and then to help them in stating the emotion, their feeling, they can circle the suitable emoticon in the strategy. Okay, next one is the variation. This strategy can be varied by using two methods. The first one is the cross-curricular element. Okay, the learners can also practice this strategy in art class, as we are trying to promote the effective strategy. So some of the materials in this strategy can be used in the art class. For example, the dice drawing game and the mask. Okay, the purpose. There are 2 purposes in which the learners can vary by using this strategy. Okay, number 1 is this strategy can also be used for other language skill, such as writing skill. It is more or less the same like the second strategy, in which they can use the description on the drawing game, the dice drawing game, to construct a sentence. And the second one is it can be used to teach adjectives by using the descriptions. Yes. Okay, so let's move to the next one, the conclusion. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. I am Nur Ashikin binti Ahmad, the last presenter of the group. Moving on to the conclusion. First, we are looking at the aim of the strategies. As you all know, every strategy has the same purpose, which is to assist the learners to learn and use the language. So all of the strategies are creating awareness about the learner's strength to acquire the language. This made the learners become independent, whereby the learners are able to find or learn with or without a teacher. They could also gather information on their own during the process without being independent to the teacher. Next one, we are looking at learners' autonomy. Learners' autonomy happens whereby the learners themselves should choose either direct or indirect strategies that suit themselves effectively and help them to improve their language learning. Next one is learners have better understanding, meaning that the learners are aware of their purpose in learning and able to choose language learning strategies that is appropriate and suitable for their language proficiency, age, personality, and etc. Next is on how to ensure successful implementation. First, the learners must have positive attitudes. In learning, having positive attitudes is important, whereby it encourages the learners to be aware of the learning strategies that use in the learning process. By having positive attitude towards learning, learners also will become more responsible and willing to put a lot of effort during learning process. Next one, learners are active and self-directed. It means that the learners will be responsible on their own learning by setting goals of what they wanted to achieve. They are also able to choose strategy that is suitable for their own learning, and also they can evaluate the strategy that used in the process. At certain point, if they are not able to cope, they can always find and use another strategy to learn. Being active and self-directed is good so that the learner will know what is the purpose of learning to become more confident and will keep improving their proficiency. Next one, responsible for their own learning. Means that the learners have determination to learn and will not give up easily. For instance, they wish to improve in communicative skill, they will not practice the language in the classroom only, but also they will put more effort to practice outside of the classroom. They are also able to look for extra information that related to their language learning. Next is characteristic of successful learners. First one, encourage themselves to communicate in English, is where the learners are able to encourage themselves to practice by communicating using the language with the community around them, be it the family, friends, neighbors, and etc. Next one, practice inside and outside of the classroom, meaning that in order to be a successful learners, they are not restrained to practice the language in the classroom only. By practicing more outside of the classroom, the learners will be able to improve themselves in communicative skills as well as pronunciation. Okay, number 3, reading various of materials. Learners should not depending solely on one source. Successful learners should have put more effort in gathering information from other materials or sources. Last one, choose their own learning environment. This is related on how learners are responsible for their own language learning environment. That means by being independent, learners should be able to make their own decision and choose what's best for themselves. Okay, these are what teachers should do in order to help the learners in learning language. Okay, the first one, give ample of opportunity and motivation. To be successful learners, teachers should provide the learners with more opportunities so that the learners are able to decide and choose their own learning strategies. Motivation is also important as not all learners are able to cope at one pace. So teachers always need to motivate the learners so they will not easily give up. Okay, the second one, adapt the strategies with different ages and level of proficiency. That means teacher must be flexible in order to cater all the learners according to their ability, level of proficiency, and age. Sometimes one strategy does not fit all types of learners. Okay, the third one, assess the learners. It is very important to assess the learners in order to see improvement during the learning process. It is also important to see the benefit of applying certain strategies to the learners in order to enhance their language proficiency. Okay, these are all references that we use in this task. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.